Got this, okay? All right, so chapter training, president training, it's chapter training because you are the chapter. You're on the line for all the liability. You're welcome. Congratulations. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
We're standing on the wrong sides, but that's okay.
That's okay. This is Jenny. Right here. This is Oliver. Oliver's.
So I'm from Palatine. I joined the JCs in 2018. I'm a legacy JC. My parents were JCs in the 90s, and it's very different when you're 3 years old compared to when you're 30 years old, but it's more fun on this side of things. Outside of the JCs, I am a nurse, emergency trauma nurse. I'm currently working as an EMS educator, and as you all saw from the social last night, I have an unhealthy obsession with Purdue basketball. I'm aware of it. We're good with it. It's fine.
So I'm Rianna Hollenstine. I'm from Springfield. I was the same as her, JC legacy. I was literally born when my dad was state president in the 90s. So yes, I've been around JCs my entire life. Outside of the JCs, I work as a deputy clerk for the Illinois Supreme Court. So yes, I am a dog mom. That is my dog, Remy. And it's not Purdue basketball that I'm obsessed with. I'm obsessed with MSU basketball. I'm an Izzo fan. I don't care. Come at me. It's fine.
It's okay.
It's all good. All right. So, meeting agendas. They're your friends, okay? Mostly because who doesn't like to talk? In meetings, you might not like to, but everyone else wants to have a word in it, okay? And it's fine. We all want everyone to have their time, but agendas with times on them helps. Okay? I'm just saying, helps run an accessible meeting, a good agenda. I love one. Because my chapter has a lot of feelings. Okay, there's a lot of feelings, a lot of people like to say things, and it's fine. I actually enjoy our good discussions, but you get a time limit, y'all, because we gotta move on and no one wants to stay here until 9. Okay.
So this is our agenda for the next few minutes, and then we'll do questions, answers, and we can just chat afterwards if you guys have anything you want to talk about. So. All right, so goal setting is a big one. This was a big focus of my year, and I think it turned out to be really, really important. Goal setting gives you a couple really big benefits. It gives you an opportunity to kind of just stop and think about what are some things you want to focus on, which is going to help you when you kind of get into the weeds throughout the year. It gives you a home base to come back to. So problems are going to happen, things are going to go wrong, you're going to have things come up that you weren't expecting, and you have to figure out which avenue do we take here. If you do a good job of setting goals at the beginning of the year that reflect your values and that reflect what you want to accomplish in the year, it kind of gives you a little bit of a cheat sheet when you come to those moments, because it gives you a chance to say, you know what? Is this response serving our goal? Is focusing on this going to serve our goal for the year? So I'll give you an example. One of our goals for my chapter was member retention, not just member recruitment. And we wanted to really get our members excited about joining or reinvesting their time in the JCs, because we had a lot of JC burnout in my chapter. So we had a project that wasn't getting anyone to sign up for anything, and nobody wanted to do it. And we ended up just saying, this isn't serving our goal of getting people excited, because it's just dragging everybody down. So we ended up just not doing that project this year. So they should be measurable. It'll give you a good chance to go back and reflect on your success or where your opportunities to do better are. They should be revisited. We had a board meeting in the middle of the summer just to kind of reflect on our goals, see how we're doing and what can we do better. And again, they should reflect your mission and values. What are you hoping to accomplish? You want to do this one? I don't care.
All right, so board meetings versus general membership meetings. I don't know about you, but our board meetings are where we do all of the nitty-gritty talking, and then we are united fronts at our general meetings.
Mhm.
Our general meetings aren't for all of the questions, they're not for all of the minute details. That is what your committee meetings are for, that is what your board meetings are for. General membership meetings are general. When everybody needs to come, either you can have an ID project, you can do anything, but you're giving the membership the voice to be able to come and speak, give all their thoughts to you. But also for all your other little things. Like, I know Springfield in this sense, this year is doing a longer meeting, but also is setting up different things that they can do, like little IT projects. It's because our chapter likes to do little things during the meeting instead of all this all the time.
So for your board meetings, one thing I sometimes worry about, not to have heavy, but our board meetings pretty much run the chapter, and then our chapter meetings, no one really gives a ton of input one way or the other, so basically the board is controlling the entire chapter without much input outside of the board, but the board are also the people who run all the projects. They're also the ones who direct all the funds, and so the board seems to have a lot of, I guess, influence over the entire chapter, but it's not like you can't do this kind of thing, it just kind of comes down to that is. How do you solve the fact that your board has a ton of influence and pretty much dictates everything?
Our board gives opinions, but it has to go through a membership vote. So you can, as a board, you can give your insight and give what you believe needs to happen, but then it's all up to, it's membership based. So it's all up to whoever comes to the meeting, what they decide they want to do. So you can give a recommendation in a sense, and if it ends up being the way your board, the way your board decides, hey, that means you presented well.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a no vote on anything I put up.
I think it depends on your bylaws of your chapter.
Yes.
The way our bylaws are outlined, the board actually is the one that does all the deciding for anything that costs, like for particular administrative roles. And then any projects or allocation of funds under $300, the board just has the final say. Anything over that or falling outside of those administrative decisions, the chapter has to vote on it. One of the ways that I kind of approached it this year, trying to get more people excited and involved, I really encourage the fact that our board meetings are open. Anybody can come to a board meeting, see what these discussions are, see what these conversations are, with the caveat that I, as president, have the right to close the board meeting, and then it's only board members, and there will be no discussion of what happens in that room outside of that room. And that's just for professional purposes. The other thing we did is, we kind of tried to focus on a little bit more fun in our chapter meetings to kind of get people to want to come and hang out. Like, we do a raffle. This year we started doing walk-up music. So everyone who came up to present something, we had a theme and they got to pick their own song for their walk-up music. And it's just a little bit more fun and engaging. And when you're a little bit more involved, more freely. So you can get
Our budget, so we have an budget. It's approved. They
And because it's always a yes, no matter what we pitch, it's a.
you can have the option of calling a roll call vote or a silent ballot or secret ballot. If it's a situation like that where you feel like someone's voice isn't being heard or someone's afraid to speak out because they don't want to go against the majority, you've got options there, and don't be afraid to use those.
I mean, we've had examples in Springfield where the membership has shot down a vote that the board agreed to. So like our,
Don't know.
So, our bylaws are written off of your bylaws, so I'm very familiar with yours, and CU. A lot of the things that we do, because all of our budget does go through, everything it goes through the membership as a whole. But one of the things that we do is we try to engage by directly saying, Emily, what do you think about that, instead of just saying, like, we want to put this to a vote, like, this is the big
You lost internet for a second.
Oh, no, you're fine. We do have the opportunity to be able to do, president's calls, as a group, to be able to meet with me and or any member of my team that you guys need to. Which, is that something that you guys would like to continue doing?
We've already talked about it.
Yeah, we were, okay, quarterly, I love that, and the second or fourth. Okay. Do you have days that are better than others?
Tuesday or Wednesday are usually best for me.
Tuesday, Wednesday, anybody else?
Wednesday is like.
Okay.
For me. Sorry.
As long as it's not the first 2 weeks, we have our board meeting on Wednesday and then our chapter meeting the following Wednesday.
So the fourth Wednesday, maybe? Third or fourth Wednesday?
Yeah.
Well, you said no.
Third one,
on
that's.
third, that's
Okay.
okay.
The fourth Wednesday.
I will double check, me and Stephanie will double check our calendar. Of course, I should have known, she already did this, so, yeah, and I'll get it out to you guys to be able to. Do
And
that.
one aspect from last year that I really liked is it only happened about the first meeting, but the presidents discussed issues they were having in their chapter and how they were addressing it. I thought that was really helpful because you're like, oh, we have the same struggles, it's not just me, that's how you're approaching it. And I really like that, so.
And not on Sunday night.
And not on Sunday night, no, I can never do that to y'all, I don't want to do that either. We'll get that, Stephanie and I will get that scheduled, and you'll probably get an email from Stephanie or like to be able to get this scheduled, so. And if you have any questions, cell phone number, I'll pop out and grab my business cards and make sure that you guys have them, so. Thank you, I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Presidents don't have to say sorry, you just interrupt. This is the one year you get to interrupt no matter what.
I'll come back and interrupt you.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, kind of tacking on to that, keep your meetings successful and effective, your general membership meetings, we wanna make it fun. This is where you're gonna do your presentations. As much, my approach to this, and you do what you wanna do, it's your year. My approach to this was, even though I'm the one up there running the meeting, I wanna talk as little as possible. Ownership and own it was my president's slogan, because I genuinely believe if you have people being the ones taking ownership of those roles, they're more likely to get involved. So any chance I had to have somebody else come up and talk, and I just navigate the chaos, that was my approach to it, and I feel like that worked pretty well for us. Some groups, that's not gonna work, so you gotta know your group and you gotta know what's gonna be effective for you guys.
What are your thoughts? I know your thoughts.
I know.
want Jenny's thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on like? Cause so like our old, we just switched to a brand new meeting space that now is actually like classroom style.
Okay,
So it has a full on like podium, it has whiteboards and everything. We normally would not really have people like come up and talk. They would just kind of either stand or talk where they are.
I think, for board meetings, I generally did a little bit more laid back, because to me, those are our discussions, that's our teamwork, that's our.
We just round.
That's like our group project time of getting all that stuff done and getting down to the nitty gritty of business. For purposes of a general meeting, I think a podium can be nice for 2 reasons. Number one, it kind of keeps that formality to keep things going and keep people coming up. Number two, as a learning organization, that might be a rare time for somebody to get a chance to have to stand in front of people and public speak and do that. And if it's not something you've ever done before, getting that practice and experience is very valuable. So personally, I think it has a good place. Now, that being said, if it's like a casual comment or something, I don't think everybody needs to come up. But I think having the opportunity to come up and speak at a
Like your
podium is,
committee chairs.
yeah, VP presentations,
Help me get.
presenting projects, I think they have their place for sure. I think there's something to be said for keeping to formalities from time to time.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we didn't even plan that.
How formal are your board meetings, general meetings?
So we have our set agenda and we do our best to stick to it. One thing I installed this year, because we got a complaint that the board meetings or the chapter meetings run a little too long. I instituted something at the end of the chapter that we call like continuing conversation. So we would try to limit each discussion up to like 5-10 minutes. If it starts to kind of run off the rails, I would close it down. I would ask for a vote to table. And then we would just bring it to the end of the meeting, and anyone who wanted to stay and continue the conversation could do so. So we do follow Robert's rules. We do try to keep to that strict with respect to everybody's time. We are a very large chapter, so we have 20 to 30 projects we're discussing at each one of these meetings. That being said, we usually have someone heckling in the back. We usually have inside jokes. We have walk-up music. I think our theme once was like, we did like holiday music that doesn't say Christmas. We did Oscar award winners, one-hit wonders. So there's music playing, there's people dancing. It's fun. So it's fun and casual, but it's like, okay, respect for people's time. Let's keep it formal to keep it moving.
It's pretty cool. We don't have that many projects, but we have
Ours is
time
more-
agenda.
Business oriented
Yeah,
in a sense, only. We will do like the projects at the end sometimes, but ours is more, we have a lot of feelings. And a lot of people like to talk, which is fine, that makes for a good dynamic, a good discussion. But in the same respect, I instituted a sergeant at arms last year.
Yep.
Started a team of arms last year, because. Yeah. Computer closed and shut down.
we kept getting too tangent. And people would
Sometimes.
dive into it like full on rants.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't productive.
So that's with the table, the conversation, same problem, different approaches.
We don't have a discussion problem, we have a discussion problem. So like if we don't have a little something, our meeting's done in 30 minutes. So it's trying to bring out just a little discussion, otherwise it's boom, 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 we talk about it. It passes, and then like, well, now let's go to a social at the place next door.
Sometimes you would call individual people in the chapter, prime them for discussion points.
That's the other thing, ask questions. Ask specific questions, not are we okay with this? Ask, okay, we've got this budget for this. Would we rather use it for this or this?
Mhm.
Ask those, as you're going through your PMGs and planning your projects, make little notes of those things that you're kind of trying to have to make decisions on. Bring those questions up for discussion. Get an opinion on it.
Get started a little.
And again, that kind of instills that ownership of that person coming to that project being like, hey, I helped make that decision. Like, you get a little bit more excited about participating when you have that sense of ownership of it. That's good question. Different problems for different groups for sure. No, you're good.
Mary decided to ask me.
So yeah, we already kind of talked about most of this. Agendas are great. Theme nights, music contests, ways to keep it fun. Location of the chapter is a big one. Make sure it's in a place that's accessible. We made a move this year to move the meetings from outside of Palatine back into Palatine, just because we were able to get more people to come. But again, trying to find a spot that'll give it to us at a reasonable cost. This is the joys of being president, is you get to do all that problem solving, so, but. That's
We
fine.
moved ours to Shields this year
Safety.
for safety, because we had a couple of members almost try to get mugged at the outside public library. As you're going down in our downtown area. We have very nice homeless people, and then we have a couple of homeless people that aren't very nice. It's good.
Also, an idea to think of is, food.
Yeah.
Depending on what time your meetings are, if they're over like the traditional like dinner time. Like we have a lot of people from Springfield that come from work. So they don't really get a chance to eat, and where we were, you couldn't bring it.
We kind of already discussed this for your role in a meeting. However, depending is know your audience. If you aren't, in this case, you don't have a lot of discussion. If you're a chapter that does have a lot of discussion. And you're not that confrontational, know this about yourself. Sergeant of Arms can be your bad guy. Just saying. If you don't have that problem. And you don't mind saying you need to pipe down and sit down for a little bit, that's okay too. But if you want, again, try to get people involved, ask questions.
Your role as president is to navigate the discussion, keep the discussion going, keep the discussion productive. And this goes outside of the meetings too. Your point of view is not always the most important in some of these situations. Which, obviously you have a point of view and it's very important and it's going to go into it. conversations mean they're engaged in trying to problem solve something and wanting to, you like, workshop an idea before they present it. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's distracting and you need to find your time to bring it in.
Mhm.
So
Know your audience.
know your audience and kind of think ahead about
Learn your
some of that
audience,
stuff.
have meetings outside of the general meetings with one-on-one with people to get to know them. So.
This is a big fun one. Everyone tells you this, that the end of the year for president is a lot of work.
It is.
For your PMG awards, what's nice is that, you know, especially if you have a chapter manager, they can help you with these reviewing PMGs and get all that done. Your individual awards, you as president, usually that falls on you to write most of those. I would give you the advice of, as things are going, either in your calendar, in notebook, whatever, on your email, just kind of keep little mental notes about, oh, so-and-so did a great job on this project. Or maybe this project didn't go so well, but this person really had overcome something, and they like, to even just the end of your trimester, and you're sitting down being like, who do I want to nominate for an award? You'd be amazed. Your mind goes blank and you can't think of anything. So keep those notes up the like writing your awards.
This is the only closed meeting that,
Some stuff this year.
but will be your closed meetings, no matter what. Because you need to be a surprise
Yeah.
when you're discussing individual awards, you don't even know.
So does your board get nominated for individual awards a lot?
So that, the way that it works for us, and I don't know how it works with everyone else's bylaws and policies and procedures, the president gets to decide how that is gonna play out for like our chapter awards and everything. So I, as president, when I wrote my policies and procedures, decided the board is gonna vote on the project awards and the project managers. And we made a rule that the same project and project managers can't win, so it's at least 2 different projects getting recognized. And then we had our general membership vote on the individual awards. Now for nominating for state and everything, that was a little bit more board focused and I made a little bit more decisions on that. But for our chapter awards, that came from how we.
I did not chapter awards. We just don't have good goals. For state awards, I project every single.
On the outcome of those discussions and based on kind of performances, I presented to the board, I said, here's the nominations I would like to do.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anyone else they wanna nominate? We also opened it up to the chapter. If you feel like you did really well this year and wanna nominate yourself or want help nominating yourself, we'll help you write it.
Yeah,
So-
okay. And just from a state team perspective, when you're writing individual award nominations and you're doing it, I know this kind of gets a little funky sometimes, you know, so you want to nominate them as a JC, but they're really an officer in your chapter.
Mhm.
We'll do it for the officer, and when you're doing it for the officer, talk about how they
Talk about the role as.
talk about their role as the officer, you know,
Mhm.
we get the award, but it's like, she was an efficient secretary and she came to all the meetings and she ran the project as the secretary or something like that, or community vice president or something really kind of molded towards their role, or the treasurer, you know, they kept us in check and they.
Also, ChatGPT, rarely.
I didn't use ChatGPT. I wrote like 22 and I didn't use it. And that was a badge of honor. I'm not gonna lie. AI ain't taking my job.
That's a very good badge of honor, but when you want to make it sound more professional, or I tend to write to legalese, just because I've worked in the legal sphere for over 8 years, so my writing tends to end up sounding way too much like I'm writing to an attorney. So.
It is an
please
option. You have resources.
You have resources, if you tend to write one way and you want to write it, no, I want it to sound much more, I want to sound more nicer, I want it to be more productive, to show them in the best light.
You also just run out of adjectives.
You also run out-
You need a thesaurus to get all the synonyms of the different words in there.
So,
And there'll be trainings throughout the
Yes.
year. Go to the trainings on writing awards. They'll kind of talk to you a little bit about how they're graded, how to rate them. And if you ever have questions, you can email us
Yes.
or your state team, because it is a
and when you
method
do
to it.
your individual ones, before you hit submit, you copy and paste into Word. Or do it vice versa, do it in Word, copy and paste. So then for the next year's people, they can come back, oh, this is how you did it, and they won. Good to know. All right, for this, I just wanted, we put this on here because it is a course in local leadership academy. It is actually very helpful. They will, you don't have to go to all of them. Pick and choose the ones you want to go to. It's Zoom. I actually did it with last year and it was actually really helpful. And FYI, I got swag gifts because I went to all of them.
So
If
these
you go
are,
to a number of them.
these are Zoom meetings led by the national president and all the chapter presidents are invited. So it's a chance to talk to chapter presidents from around the country, they'll have some educational things, they'll have some trainings, but it also gives you an opportunity to say, okay, I am really struggling with this, or I'm having a hard time figuring out how I want to approach this. Does anybody have any advice?
All right,
So that's all we got.
yeah, that's all we got, so.
Do you guys have any questions? Or are there any challenges that you're anticipating that you kind of want to?
That link in the, like, the one that was just before,
That,
yeah, can you guys send that to us?
it's on Facebook, but yes.
I'm trying to remember where it's at.
It's in the JC.
The Illinois
Illinois
JC
JC.
stuff, yeah.
Only
also
JC's
in-
member page, but if you, DM me, I'll send it to you.
One question would be. It's actually two. One is, how do you what's the best way of dealing with conflict in the actual board? When the board is the main entity of our chapters, the
Right.
board runs 99% of the projects, they're there at everything.
Mhm.
And then the members filter in, and then also connected to that is fighting burnout in the board.
Mhm.
And then not letting someone burning out take down the ship of burning out everyone else because they're burnt out, is how do you navigate that or is there ways, stuff you can do now to stop it from?
Yeah,
getting
so
to the end of the year?
You're in a great spot now because you're just starting, so you have the opportunity to set the expectations. I don't know if you guys do like a board orientation or like a get together with your board to kind of like go through expectations for the year, goals for the year. I approached mine because we were in a very similar, like very kind of drama heavy, people on different sides of opinions and, you know. So when I did my year, I started out by saying, guys, we are here for a common goal. We don't have to be friends, but we're on the same team. So the expectation is if you have a problem, I need you to talk to me. If you don't feel comfortable talking to me, talk to admin VP, chapter VP, whomever, find somebody to talk to and bring it to the table so that we can have that conversation in the open, so that we can do something about it rather than everybody just grumbling and being upset on their own and just kind of spreading that toxic vibe. So I was kind of direct in the beginning of saying, I'm not really gonna tolerate that. And if it's happening, I'm gonna come to you and say, let's talk. You have something bothering you. I can't fix it if I don't know about it. I think it is important to remember, as much as we're all friends in the JCs, when you're president, you can't always be everybody's friend.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do have to set down that, no, we have an expectation. We can, stay friends. Absolutely. I'm not saying stop your friendships, but ask them to respect, I have a job to do. I have a responsibility to the chapter and I need you to help me support that. In terms of once it starts happening, how do you combat? I mean, it's a little bit easier if you can get in underneath it. Once it starts happening, it is uncomfortable and it is painful. But those direct conversations are the best thing you can do. Pull somebody aside, because most of the time when that gossip is happening on the side or you hear people are talking about it, they don't really have the courage to say it to your face.
Yeah.
So when you go talk to them and say positively,
Yeah.
I heard that you're having an issue with this, or I've heard through the grapevine that you're upset about this, and I want to make it better. Tell me what's going on. And if you kind of just directly confront them with that in a very positive, kill them with kindness way, it's a lot harder for them to dig their heels in and be like, well, you don't care about this or whatever it is. So it is uncomfortable. And if you're having specific problems, reach out to your, people that you trust, your mentors who have gone through it before and ask for advice, and just do your best to not take it personally.
Yeah, I'm same page, different chapter, or just same book, different chapter, whatever, however you say it. I blunt to a fault sometimes. So I'm very direct, so I set my board down and I'm like, I don't want you to burn out, but I have expectations. Don't agree to do something
Like not follow through.
and not follow through.
Mhm.
I would much rather you say, I don't think I'm gonna have the time for this, and we will talk it out and figure it out how we can make it work.
Yeah.
Don't agree to something and then flake out on me, because once you agree to do something, I'm taking it off my plate. And I'm like, okay, it's gonna be done. I'm not your nanny, I'm not your mom, I'm not your babysitter. I am your president. I respect you enough to know that you agreed to do a job. You were voted in by your chapter, you ran for this job. You agreed and were appointed. Goals and expectations. I was very blunt in the beginning, and they at least knew this about me, so it worked out for me. And my board pretty much agreed with me, they pretty much liked the fact that I laid it all out there. I'm like, this, and this. Tell me you can't do something, we will figure it out. This is a volunteer organization. It is your job, your family, it all comes first, okay? So it's okay to say no, and we will talk it out and figure it out. But in the same respect, don't think are being forced to say yes, because you're not. I want you to enjoy JCs. I want you to enjoy your year. I want you to want to come to things, not that you're forced to come.
A big part of that is knowing you can ask for help if it's getting overwhelming. Somebody saying, I can't handle this right now, is being responsible for it. That's letting the rest of the team know, cool, we gotta pick up the slack. And your job as president is, I need you to let me know because I'm here to support you. I want you to run with it, make it your own thing, do your thing, enjoy it, and revel in the success when you achieve it. But if you're struggling, it's my job to help get you there.
I have 2 jobs. And on top of being, when I was president, job and masters.
Yeah.
And was president. So scheduling is key and wonderful, and that's why I was always said, that's why I was so blunt about it. And in the same respect, all my board had very highly demanding jobs. We had a mom with 2 kids. That one is going to be a teenager, or is a teenager, 14, so. Planning. And understanding that, hey, it's commitment. But also. It's not the end all commitment.
In terms of burnout, I also think one of the best things we can do is just have that respect for people's time.
Mhm.
Have the agenda, try to keep your meetings to an hour, 2 hours, whatever the expectation is. Make sure your stuff is scheduled ahead of time. It's on your calendars, you put your Facebook events, you do all that stuff. Keep that respect for people's time so that they can plan around, because if we're very often last minute, like, guys, this last minute came up, guys, I gotta do this is taking forever. It gets frustrating. I was on the chair, I was on the board once, I had a 3 AM shift, so every time we'd go an hour over, I'd be like, I only have an hour to sleep now. So keep that respect for people's time and make time for fun. Like, it can get, when you're president and you have all these things ahead of you and you feel responsible for them, it can kind of get daunting and overwhelming and feel like, guys, we have to just get this done, which you do. But we all join this to make friends and to do social stuff, so make time to just enjoy it. And in that same sense, if you're walking around all year with your head down, being like, I have so much to do, this is so overwhelming, nobody is gonna step up to their role next year. Show them the fun part of it. Take pride in those moments where you see somebody who has never run a project before, run their first project, and celebrate that. That's flippin' cool. Like, we had a member who was terrified to run a project. She ran it. It was one of the most successful ones ever. She had a lot of backup and support for the board, but we played our part to push her forward and get her there. And after that, she applied for a new job. Like, take those celebration moments and just own them. They're so cool. That is my favorite part of being president, was when you got to see those people do those little self victories and you just get to sit there and be like, that's a great part of me.
How do you change the narrative?
Hold on,
Yep.
he had his hand up for like 3 minutes already, so that's all.
Just 2 things on your burnout note. We had last year and carried it over this year. We had a mentorship director who, she was kind of a nonpartisan body of our board, but also the membership, where if we ever had to have somebody have a difficult conversation, she always stepped up. Like, we have one member in our chapter who is very opinionated, and her opinionated can sometimes cause rifts and a lot of like hard ache in our meetings. So we have reached out to this mentorship director, say, hey, can you go meet with this person beforehand to explain, we're gonna be talking about this. Please try to keep you can voice your opinion, but you need to keep it in check. And then on the burnout note too, my first meeting that I ran, we had to talk about our 10-week project that we knew was already gonna be a heartache, and we, as the board, laid out for our membership the expectations of what we minimally have to have commitment wise from our membership in order to even pursue.
And in the same respect, that 10-week thing that he's talking about, I won a national award there,
Like, it's won awards, it's just over
And
the
I had a
5
great
years
time.
we've done it,
but
we keep
membership
seeing
has
decreased membership.
Set those expectations, be
Mhm.
completely honest, be completely like, guys, this is what it is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This is what we're dealing with. You mentioned changing the narrative. Can you finish that thought?
Change the narrative of the presidential role. We don't have anyone step up, which is why I'm president for the 2nd year. Before me, it was like pulling teeth to get a president before, and a president before, and
So now you have an opportunity to take the next year and show people what you have gained from being president. So I will stand up here forever, and I genuinely and wholeheartedly mean this. I took the role of president as a way to challenge myself to see if I can handle it. And this is my little elevator speech about it, is I was kind of at a spot in my career where I need to make some decisions, and I don't know if I can handle it. So I took the role of president to see, can I problem solve? Can I lead a group of people through a hard time? And can I navigate those really uncomfortable situations? And we had some problems in Palatine this year. If you wanna get a couple drinks and hear about them, I will tell you about some of the shit that we had to deal with. Sorry, we're recording and I'm swearing, but I'm just being honest. And it was a really big opportunity for me to learn about myself. That being said, there were some really flipping hard times. My solution to that was I had a couple people on my board, we kind of called them the inner circle, that I would vent to, and I would get frustrated with, and I would cry and I would say, I don't know that I can do this, and then I'd turn around and go to the chapter and be like, here's what it is, guys.
Yep.
And I'm not saying lie, full
No,
on,
yeah.
100%, guys, this is
Yep.
what we're dealing with, this is the decision I had to make. Here's how I went about it, and if you don't like what I did, let's talk about it. And just that honesty and that forthright and just, here's what it is, this is the process, get some insight into it. And I think it personally worked out. I went back to school for a master's to change my degree because of it, so.
Oh, you're done?
Yeah, if you guys wanna keep chatting about this stuff,